these costume vigilantes are least likely to kill you, intentionally or otherwise.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chamber of the Wraith. My name is Brian, and tonight I want to talk about something curious. As a sort of idea. This is one of a couple of theory videos that I want to put out before April is out, and, well, I'm damn well determined to get it done. So, what's the theory this week? Well, it's about Injustice 2 and how I think the Premier skins should have been a little bit more. Now, I've talked at length about the Premier skins before and all of their problems, but I'm not actually all that worried about the Premier skins in Injustice 3, because if they do come back, they'll be improved. But I want to take a bit of a bold suggestion and take a look at Premier skins that are already in Injustice 2 that could have a little more. And to begin, let's talk about my inspiration, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, technically, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are all in one slot. And in fact, in competitive play, if you want to choose your turtle, you have to select the turtle and then choose between Leo, Mikey, Donnie, and Raph. But they each have their own special moves and some of their own normals. And in fact, they have some unique abilities as well. For instance, Leonardo gets access to Raising Shell, which replaces his Bombshell. Raphael gets Suicide Dive instead of Bombshell. Michelangelo gets a forward throw and back throw meter burn. Donatello gets access to Bow Vault and Ballistic. He actually gets two separate abilities. So, I'm not exactly asking about abilities to be brought back. I would have loved for there to have been a way to disable stats and augments and just allow these. Just allow the abilities to be used in competitive play, and I think with a little bit of tweaking, it would have been like a precursor to Injustice 2 and have made this game incredible. However, I'm going to take this idea of the TMNT having their own skin, having their own moves, dialing it back half a notch, and using the gear system to expand Premier skin movesets. So we're going to get started with the first Premier skin on this list. And I mean the real Premier. And this time, I am actually starting with Bruce Wayne Batman. Now, this seems silly for me to start with the last Premier skin and the least necessary of all the Premier skins, but allow me to elaborate. We can do something really fun with Bruce Wayne Batman. Let's take a look at his abilities first and see what we can have. Well, there's a different wake up, there's electric batarangs, there's summon bats, all enhanced parries, and more. And I think it would be really sweet if we had billionaire Bruce Wayne, if we had Bruce Wayne Batman be a little stripped down. He doesn't have his bat belt on that we can see, but we could actually enhance his moves and pretend like they are hidden. So for instance, evading bat, he wakes up, grabs a couple of batarangs from his suit jacket and slams them down. A surprise wake up, that sort of thing, for instance. And then advanced parry adds a cape counter meter burn, so if he successfully counters an attack, he gets a surprise combo. It's about the surprise factor. You don't expect Bruce Wayne to have access to his gadgets in his suit. So giving him some surprises would make for some fun theming, personally speaking. In fact, I'm actually going to do that now. Boomerang Bat, yes, and then replace Boomerang Bat here with Evading Bat. Just because I think that's really cool, and then I can switch back and forth there. That's an example of what I am talking about. You can take or disregard this as you will. Next, we're going to take a look at Mr. Freeze. Now, I already kind of have this set up to be a good Mr. Freeze loadout, because Freeze is a scientist. He's clever. He can think on his feet. And he already has the moves that Captain Cold has that aren't refined martial arts. So, we only need to take a look at some of the most clever ways that Mr. Freeze can use his Cold Gun. An upward projectile? Maybe, but not strictly necessary. Ice Burst? No. It's worse than Cold Blast in terms of he loses a projectile. Air Cold Blast is a maybe, but I think the best ones are Air Ice Bridge, which gives Mr. Freeze a chance to set up for free and make it harder for opponents to hit him, and Ice Rain, where instead of creating blocks of ice, he sets up overhead freezes. Clever little strategies to mess with the opponent and set up mix-up scenarios for combos. This replaces the Desticle meter burn of just a big hunk of ice, and it has its own trade-off. You don't get the effect of restricting opponent movement if it whiffs. It just hits the ground and you've wasted a bar of meter. Whereas with Ice Rain, you land it, you get some damn good damage. Next up is actually Cheetah with Vixen. Now Vixen, I think, would be really neat to see a couple of abilities. Cheetah doesn't have very many abilities of her own, and I think for her, we should give her Savage Slam, which gives her more combo opportunities, and either Air Jungle Jump, which gives her a wall jump unique to Cheetah in all of the NetherRealm games, or Cheetah Clutch, which is an aerial throw, where she is in the air. If we could, and this all depends on whether NetherRealm would have been willing to allow more animals to be shown with Vixen's gimmick, because that's her whole thing. If we see, for instance, Savage Slam, we could see the outline of a gorilla or something big and powerful that could slam opponents into the ground for a follow-up attack. Cheetah Clutch you could see the effect of an eagle, like she's grabbing somebody out of the air as an eagle. If they're only willing to go with just the cheetah glove things, then Air Jungle Jump and Savage Slam is the way to go. It's highly dependent and highly variable with Cheetah, or Vixen, sorry. Next is Grid. And Grid, I think, should actually have be more of an embodiment of Cyborg's cyber side. Body Shield is tempting, but it requires both slots and replaces the Nano Drone. So, while this is a possibility and one I do think could work with Grid, I think we should expand the Apocalypse angle a little bit by giving Cyborg, in this case Grid, a teleport in Boom 2. This allows Grid to teleport towards or away from the opponent instead of having to grapple. And he also gets a double jump while he's in the air. Although I think instead it should be a Cyber Charge, allowing Cyborg to charge forward, then grapple. I believe this gets replaced with teleport in the air when meter burned. Still allows some unique mobility. Next we have... Where is the next person? Oh, Flash. Flash has a lot we could talk about. And I think we should start with the Reverse Flash. He steals one of Flash's moves in Lightning Charge, in my personal imagination. This gives the chance to use Lightning Charge once again. And, of course, Reverse Flash would steal one of Flash's moves. It makes perfect sense. And the fact that they made it a gear move instead of a base loadout like the Legacy Flash, that makes sense. And then Sonic Parry allows Reverse Flash to parry an opponent. This kind of ties in with how Reverse Flash is supposedly slightly less creative than the Flash when he's using his Speed Force abilities, but is more aggressive. So instead of dodging attacks, he will use the opportunity of a parry to counterattack. And then there's Jay Garrick, which I have the perfect, and I do mean the perfect kind of idea for him. First off, he gets Sonic Bolt. That is the perfect thing. Pulling energy from the Speed Force and hurling it as a projectile. It's called Sonic Bolt, but I affectionately call this attack Sonic Boom, as in Guile's Sonic Boom. Now, for those not in the know, Jay Garrick is voiced by the same voice actor that Guile has in Street Fighters 4 and 5, Travis Willingham. So, I think it would be hilarious to give the guy voiced by Guile a Sonic Boom. It seems fitting. And as for Jay Garrick's second attack, I think I would actually do Speed Nado. This replaces Sonic Lift and gives him a tornado launcher with the ability to anti-air potentially. Next we have John Stewart Green Lantern. Now, the fact that they made all of Green Lantern's legacy attacks abilities makes this a particularly difficult thing to choose from. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him the minigun instead of bowled over, and Quick Charge, which is a new move that allows Green Lantern to build super meter while he plugs his ring into the lantern. This will give John Stewart an ability to gain meter that is fairly risky. So it doesn't make John Stewart necessarily better per se, but because we're taking away one of his full screen options for more chip, and we are giving him an option that doesn't really work unless the ring is fully connected to the lantern in exchange of more meter. Then we have Black Lightning. Now here's the thing about Black Lightning. If there was a way to remove the teleport, I would take it. But since there is no current way to remove the teleport, I propose we give him Electric Current, which is a surge of electricity that hits the ground, and Power Bolt, which buffs the lightning bolt to create a beam of lightning that stuns the opponent in place. This can also partially affect the normal lightning bolt because it goes right through the opponent. And finally, is that finally? Yeah, finally. Nope. Penultimately, there's Power Girl instead of Supergirl. Kryptonian Grinder is, in my opinion, the perfect fit, because Power Girl is headstrong, and she will drag your ass across the floor instead of creating that tornado. Now the question then becomes, do we give Sun Charge or Earth Shatter? See, Earth Shatter kind of fits Power Girl as a character, but Sun Charge is the better ability. And I think I'm actually going to do Sun Charge. Now for those because Sun Charge is one of, if not the most prevalent abilities in the game, because there are so many augments that connect to Sun Charge. Now for those not to know, Sun Charge disables Kryptonian lasers, which is her trait, turning off her ability to keep away. But Supergirl will take less damage while this is active. Now it's not great, it's not a great buff, but it's a buff nonetheless. And in fact, I think it would be kind of neat if Sun Charge also got a slight damage boost. Not much, but enough to get a little more damage. Let's say 10% more damage while this is active. So you have a reason to activate it and sacrifice the Kryptonian lasers. Excuse me. And finally, we have Bizarro. And Bizarro, really, there's only one thing I can think of for Bizarro. There's two things that we can consider. There is an invincible super move wherein Bizarro will fly off into space, grab a rock, and slam it on the opponent. It is unblockable and triggers the super move, and can be delayed. This is just like Shiva's unblockable tracking unblockable delayed special move, but it's a super move, and you can backdash it, or if you are particularly good with the movement options, you can just straight up ignore this attack just by moving. And as a note, you'd probably never see this because it's a super move. All 4 slots, which means that you would only see it in desperate times, and because it isn't a comboable super move, I think this would actually be a fairly fair double ability slot thing for Bizarro. And it makes sense, because Bizarro already has quite a bit different. Freeze, Vision, Fire Breath. Why not change the super move? Because I'm thinking about either Krypton Charge, which is an aerial flying punch, or Ground Tremor, which causes a shockwave. But because of the kind of character Bizarro is, I think Meteor Drop is the way to go. Do you guys have any suggestions for what abilities you would have as a Premier Skin loadout in order to make the Premier Skins different from simple skins? Or do you think that it's better that the Premier Skins stay the way they are? Just skins, nothing more, and nothing less. And finally, as a nice little bonus, what character do you want to see who does not have a Premier Skin in Injustice 2 get a Premier Skin in Injustice 3? And bonus points if you pick out the abilities for them. For instance, if you pick Ormarius, aka Ocean Master for Aquaman, do you give him both of the Ormarius moves? If so, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to be awesome, and I'll see you guys on the other side.